The Week 1 public test server patch notes for Update 48 for the Elder Scrolls Online, there was a section talking about what awaits in Eastern Solstice. And a lot of the things here are stuff that we normally see in a new zone inside of ESO. But the very first thing they talked about here was kind of interesting to me. The 4 full-length objectives where choices shape the outcome of several of the quests. Now, I wish they would have gave us a little bit more on this, maybe a developer comment on exactly what they mean. But it sounds like you're going to have 4 full-length objectives that are going to change the outcome of certain quests in-game. I'm assuming this is not going to give you alternate endings to the end of the story, but this is a step in the direction that I would kind of like to see ZOS start doing with their storytelling. I know you can't really go back and change up everything we've had in the past, but future stories, future zones, I would really like to see more option in what you do inside of that story kind of affect what goes on in general, kind of like you have in other RPG games. We know in a recent update we have more choices now when it comes to speaking to NPCs, kind of different answers we can give them. I know when that was talked about to begin with, people were really excited for it. It wasn't quite as fleshed out as a lot of us would like to see. Hopefully they will work on that more. But if we had more dialogue options and more choice to where what we do inside the story, not only what we say to NPCs, but also what we do story-wise affects the story in general, I think that would be something really good, because we all know that ZOS has really good voice acting. They tell really good stories. A lot of people really get immersed in the side of these stories in ESO. People love just playing these new zones and figuring out all the side quests and the main quest and stuff like that. I know that's not for everyone, but it is a big part of ESO. And having 4 full-length objectives where choices shape the outcome of several quests sounds very interesting. Like I said, they didn't give us an in-depth answer to what exactly that means. I'm hoping it means some really in-depth things go on within those quests when you make certain decisions. Whenever you do certain things, certain choices, that's going to affect the outcome. Like I said, I don't expect it to affect the outcome of the end of the story. I wish that was something they would start doing eventually. But I hope this is as good as it sounds, and this is something they continue to do. Because, like I said, having choices kind of affect the outcome of quests, having more dialogue options would be really good inside of ESO. I think that's something they need to do, because most RPGs nowadays do that. And, of course, ESO is an older game. So it's something that they're going to have to add in. It wasn't something that a lot of people were doing back in the day, maybe besides, like your Oblivions or your Skyrims at that point. But overall, I would like to see that, because that is a feature you have in Elder Scrolls games, and that is a feature pretty much that you have in all RPG games. And I think all the story fans out there would really like that. This sounds very interesting. I wish we would have got, like I said, a developer comment or something explaining this a bit more. But from the way they've written this, I've never seen them write anything like this in any patch notes before, where it talks about choices shaping the outcome of several quests. Unless I'm just completely forgetting something over the years, and there's been a lot of patch notes over the years. But I've never really seen anything worded from the dev team like that. So this seems like it could be something very interesting, very unique, and I hope it is. Also, we're going to have 3 delves, each with a sky shard and a unique boss. Now, of course, that's something we always expect to see in a new zone. I do enjoy going into the delves and kind of exploring them when they're new, because some of them are really designed very, very well. They look really neat. I know a lot of people talk about how a lot of the delves look very similar in some scenarios, but in my opinion, sometimes, yes, they do. But sometimes they really knock it out of the park with some of these delves and public dungeons. And speaking of public dungeons, a new public dungeon that is a botanical haven overran by planemeld. So this is going to be an interesting one to see. Of course, you're going to have this kind of design that is a botanical haven, but also a lot of that cold harbor kind of look and feel. So that's going to be an interesting public dungeon to, kind of adventure around in. 3 new world bosses. I know a lot of you out there like to go fight world bosses. That's one of the ways that I enjoy testing builds. You can go in and hit a dummy all day, but really you don't know how a build's going to work until you put it into a scenario where you're actually fighting something that's moving around, that's dodging, that's all that kind of stuff. So world bosses are a lot of fun to me. They're also a lot of fun to solo, if you don't have anyone to play with, or if there's a group there, they're fun to just kind of make new friends, around people hanging out, just, fighting world bosses. So 3 new world bosses is a really good thing. 2 new crafting set locations. Of course, we know we're going to have new crafted sets, as always, in not really a brand new zone, because this is just the other half of Solstice. We've already experienced, of course, Western Solstice. This is just the other side. And of course, in Western Solstice, I think we only had 1 crafting set, or 1 new crafting set. So to have at least 2 new ones, I was curious to see how they were going to do that. I was wondering if we were only going to start getting 1 or 2 sets per location now. But having 2 here is going to be kind of back to what we expect. Those 3 sets in total in Solstice. And hidden side quests scattered across the landscape, which is something else, once again, that you kind of expect inside of ESO. You have a lot of different hidden side quests that will give you, of course, some really cool achievements if you get everything done within the zone. But a lot of people like to go out and just kind of adventure around and find those side quests, because some of them sometimes are off the beaten path. But overall, what awaits us in Eastern Solstice seems like it's going to be pretty enjoyable. I think a lot of people will be excited for this. Like I said in the video that I made yesterday, Update 48 was disappointing if you were looking for mass changes to old gear sets, new gear sets, subclassing, pure class. That's not really going to happen in this update. It seems like they're really focusing on bug changes and all the stuff they've been talking about wanting to fix in the game. It looks like it's not going to happen to next year. So I'm hoping Eastern Solstice is going to be a really fun zone to, wander around in, adventure around in, find new things. Also, the Writhing Wall event is going to be a fun one as well. I'm still really curious how that's going to work after that part of the event is over, because the first part of the story in Western Solstice, is really tied into that wall event. So once that is down and we can get to Eastern Solstice, I'm kind of curious to see how, for a new player, that's going to work. If you just pick up the game maybe at the start of next year and you hop in and you're in Solstice, that wall event's not going to be there anymore. That wall event is also something I'm hoping we get to see added to the game as a permanent feature. Maybe not just the wall event per se, but a big group event that's not just for that particular zone you're in, but a server-wide event. I think those type of events added into ESO would be something that would be really nice as well. If they could do something where it pops up in map, something like Diablo, for example, where a world boss comes up every so many hours. If you had some type of an event that's a big server-wide event that pops up in ESO, every few hours, that gives some really good rewards, I think people would really enjoy that as well. It's going to give you something else to do in game. If you're kind of already got your build together, you've done all the story, you've played for a long time like I have, that's going to give you something interesting to do in game that we have not had in the past. Of course, we have all of our stuff in zone, like your Dolmens and stuff like that have been around forever. But a big group event, I think, is going to be something that is like we've never seen done in ESO. It's going to be, it can be, at least, if it works out as they're hoping, it can be something that is massive. That's going to be just a blast to play with not just a group of people necessarily within your particular instance you're in, but the entire server kind of going for one particular goal. Anyway, guys, leave me a comment with your thoughts. What do you think about this info we got about Eastern Solstice? And mainly, what do you think about those objectives where choices are going to shape the outcome of quests? Would you like to see more things done like that inside of the Elder Scrolls Online going forward? Leave me a comment with your thoughts. And of course, if you like the video, hit the like. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.